This is the first video in the series, The Biblical Calendar. In this video I will go over the biblical calendar months and the beginning of the biblical new year. The calendar most people today use is called the Gregorian calendar, which is a solar calendar with 365 and a quarter days. This calendar was invented by the Romans in the 15th to 16th century, and it is no great mystery that they chose a solar calendar, as they worshipped the sun. Two different calendars were used in the Bible. The first was from the beginning during creation, and at the time of Noah and the flood. This calendar had exactly 30 days, and made up a biblical year of 360 days. But the calendar was changed, at the time of Hezekiah and Isaiah, where God moved the shadow 10 degrees backward, on the sundial of Ahaz. I will go more in depth with the change of the calendar in the next video of this series. The calendar that was used after this time, was the lunar calendar, which consists of 354 days plus some parts. Therefore every third year, or 7 times in a 19-year cycle, an extra 13th month needed to be added at the end of the 12th month for that year to be intercalated, to not lose time. It is also important to understand the biblical new year was given to Moses in Exodus chapter 12 verse 2, where God said, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, it shall be the first month of the year to you." It was the month where they came out of Egypt, and therefore God declared it to be the first month of the year, which we will see, when we go over the biblical months. But before God said this in Exodus 12, there was obviously also a new year. That was celebrated on the 7th month, called Tishri on the Hebrew calendar, which is also the month of the Feast of Trumpets. And we can see how that lines up with Noah and the flood, inaugurations of kings, and other things in the scriptures, which we will go through in one of the next videos in this calendar series. Let's go through the biblical months. From the scriptures we can see that 9 of the months are written with both name and the month number. But the 4th and 5th month are only written by numbers, and the 6th month is only written by its name. Let's begin. The first month, called Abib, or Nisan, this is the new year that God declared to Moses in Exodus 12, which we saw before. Here are a few more verses. Esther chapter 3 verse 7. In the first month, that is, the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pure, that is, the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is, the month Adar. And, in Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God, for in the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. The second month, called Leah, or Ziph, which we read in 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the second month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. The third month, called Sivan, which we see in Esther chapter 8 verse 9. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month Sivan. The 4th month, called Tammuz, this month we only know from its number, but if one check this in history books they will see that it was the month of Tammuz, that the walls of Jerusalem was destroyed, which we also read in Jeremiah chapter 39 verse 2. And in the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, the 9th day of the month, the city was broken up. The 5th month, called Av, or Ab, this month we also only know from its number, but it was the 5th month that Aaron died at Mount Hor, which we read in Numbers chapter 33 verse 38. And Aaron the priest went up into Mount Hor, at the commandment of the Lord, and died there, in the 40th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 1st day of the 5th month. The 6th month, called Elul. This is the last month we only know from its name, but we know from scriptures that they restored the wall again, which we read in Nehemiah chapter 6 verse 15. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in 50 days. The 7th month, called Ethanim, or Tishri, which we see in 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 2. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And, in Leviticus chapter 25 verse 9. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And, in Numbers chapter 29 verse 1. And in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, ye shall have an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work, it is a day of blowing the trumpets unto you. The 8th month, called Bul, or Heshvan, which we see in 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 38. And in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So was he 7 years in building it. The 9th month, called Chisleu, which we see in Zechariah chapter 7 verse 1. And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Darius, that the word of the Lord came unto Zechariah in the 4th day of the 9th month, even in Chisleu. The 10th month, called Tebeth, which we see in Esther chapter 2 verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. The 11th month, called Sabbat, which we see in Zechariah chapter 1 verse 7. Upon the 24th day of the 11th month, which is the month Sabbat, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo the prophet, saying, The 12th month, called Adar, which we see in Esther chapter 3 verse 7. To the 12th month, that is, the month Adar. So, here we have all the 12 months of the calculated Hebrew calendar written in the scriptures. As I stated before, this lunar calendar is 354 plus some odd parts, and therefore a 13th month is intercalated every 3rd year, or 7 times in a 19-year cycle. This month is called Adar 2.